Hello and welcome to Getting Your Money's Worth, the show that focuses on value. I'm Judith West, and our guest today is Mark Goldsmith, founder of Getting Out and Staying Out. Hi, Mark. Thanks for being on the show.
Pleasure to be here.
So getting out and staying out. Getting out of what and staying out of what? Getting out of trouble, staying out of trouble?
In a sense.
Yeah.
Specifically jails and prisons in New York State.
Jails and prisons. Okay. Well, you don't look like an inmate to me. I mean, how is it you were a former executive in the cosmetic industry, right? So tell me, how did you get from being a executive in the cosmetic industry to founding Getting Out and Staying?
We have a program in New York called Principal for the Day. Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah, oh sure.
Have you ever done it?
Sure. Yes, I
Really?
mean, I'm in my spare time, I'm an education advocate, and I've worked with the Board of Education, Chancellor Klein,
right.
and I know about the program, but we have many who don't. So Principal for Day is what?
One day a year,
Right.
New York City citizens such as us go into the New York City school system. It's run by an organization called Pencil, and Pencil stands for Public Education Needs the Involvement of Civic Leaders.
Boy, does it.
After 9/11, everybody walked past firehouses and correctly were very reverential of firemen.
Right.
We would like people to walk past schools and feel the same way about school teachers. School principals are very much by themselves in schools. Most of them are operating at a much higher level than the people who work for them, and they really don't have partners who they can talk to about issues, nor do they have relationships with the community at large. So the whole idea of Pencil is that one day a year, people like you and I go into the New York City school systems. My wife went back to her grade school in Richmond Hill. I grew up in Johnstown, Pennsylvania, so my case is a little different. I was a wise guy. I asked for a tough school. I thought I was headed to East New York.
You look like a wise guy.
Well, I am a wise guy. Well, I thought I was headed to East New York or South Bronx. They said, would you go to jail? And I said, yes. So off to the jail, Rikers Island, I went.
So you went to a school in jail.
Exactly. Rikers Island has two schools. One's for adolescents, and it's mandated. If you're 16, 17, 18 years old and you don't have a high school diploma or GED, you must go to school.
You must go.
Right. 10 years ago, there was a class action suit by a young man named Hanbury, who was 19 years old. He wanted the right to earn the GED. He brought a suit against the Department of Education and the Department of Correction, and he won. A very famous judge named Constance Baker Martley, who has since passed, ruled in his favor. 10 years ago, they handed the keys to a woman named Gloria Ortiz, one of the most incredible women you've ever met in your life.
They handed the keys to Rikers Island?
The keys to create a school.
Oh, to create a school.
And Gloria created the Horizon Academy. She celebrated her 10th anniversary. Well, the day I spent with Gloria and these kids was just incredible. I walked into a classroom, cold, and I started to talk to them about life skills, knowing very well, there but for the grace of God go any one of us, right. And I could tell you a little bit about my checkered education career. Yeah. And they were listening to me, and I was talking to them about hope, as Martin Luther King said, without hope there's nothing. And I started to talk to them about life skills. Keep in mind, people like you and I don't talk to these young men on the street. They're like from a cult. They come from communities that are devastated, families that are non-existent, totally matriarchal, not that mothers and grandmothers are bad, but there are very few role models in their community. Their neighborhood goes one block east, west, north, and south of their apartment, and they share two things. They have little or no vision beyond their own circumstance. They have hopes, they have dreams maybe, but no vision how to get there, and they don't know a single person who can help them. My thought was, on that day, I was going to give them some vision and be there for them on that day. When I finished, correction came up to me and they said, we don't know why they're listening to a white guy in a suit, but they are. So I made a joke, as always. I said, my wife doesn't listen to me, my kids don't listen to me. Somebody's
Thank God somebody listens to me.
Next year, I went back to Pencil, and they say, they want you back in jail. So off I went back to Rikers Island, and this year a young man showed up who was a former legal aide named Marvin Schechter, and I said to Marvin, I put my branding hat on. I said, Marvin, you're talking to these guys about getting out of here. I'm talking about them staying out of here. So I said, I think I'll trademark the name. Went on vacation with my wife a couple months later. She has a friend. She has her doctorate in social work, runs an agency for severely handicapped children. And everybody starts talking, you're a natural candidate to start a not-for-profit. My career was in the cosmetic industry. I worked for Revlon. I ran Shiseido in the United States. I was general manager of Almay. I helped create the Brut fragrance many, many years ago. and had a wonderful career. And then, as most marketing guys do after running companies, you're a consultant.
Right.
And I was doing the consulting work and enjoying it. But I started to recognize that what I was getting from these guys was so much more than I was ever going to get from consulting work that I set up the not-for-profit approximately 4 years ago. I was incorporated, I got my 501c3 designation, I raised money through private foundations, and also have a wonderful funding from New York City, Mayor Bloomberg's CEO program, the Economic Opportunity. Came to Rikers Island, saw Gloria and the Horizon Academy, saw what they were doing. We were 18 to 21 in those days. Because of a man named Anthony Tassi, who's the director of adult education for Mayor Bloomberg, recognized, why not go to 24? So we moved from 18 to 21 to 18 to 24. And they agreed to pay the guys the same amount that they were making on work detail.
To go to school.
To go to school.
It's a wonderful story, and I admire you and commend you. That's why you're here. And there's a little bit of me in what you say, too. I think many of us who've had very good, satisfying, passionate careers feel a sense of almost an obligation to give back. But I want to know, you have, your program has a very low recidivism rate.
Exactly.
Exactly. You're not alone. You're not the first person that ever talked to these kids. What is it, Mark, that you do different?
The work that we do in the prison. Most programs
give me a for instance.
Most programs wait until the guys get out.
Oh.
I'm in the prison.
So the fact that you start before they get out.
Oh, yes. The day they enter, we start talking about what are you going to do when you get out. There are 3 parts to the program. Rikers Island, just informationally, there are 14,000 people that sleep in Rikers every night. Approximately 2,000 are women, who I do not work with, and 2,000 are sentenced to what's referred to as city time. The rest are waiting trial.
Awaiting trial.
Yeah, they are given the opportunity to come to school.
While they're waiting trial.
Exactly. While they're in the school, they meet me. And that's when we give them the opportunity, providing they go to school. You must agree to pursue your GED.
And you have to do it. You sign a contract?
They sign a contract with me, and they have to write an essay and a resume to get in. The first year I let everybody in, big mistake. Okay. No sooner they get in, they expect me to do all the work. So we ask them to.
Requirements. They have to.
Exactly. Right. Now, when they finish at Rikers, they either go upstate to do time, or they get out. Okay. If they go upstate, we have a correspondence program. And I was approved by Brian Fisher, the head of all the corrections in New York State, to be upstate. So now we're entering prisons. We have one in a Coxsackie on a basis. But correspondence, 250 guys, they get letters from us. They get correspondence courses.
So you're a lifeline for them.
Oh, very much so. They walk back in and say, we couldn't have made it without you.
Let's talk about the kids. Let's talk about thousands that get out.
All right, now they get out.
What do you do with them when they get out?
What we do is we have an office in East Harlem, on East 116th Street, right? In that office, we have job developers, we have career managers, we have social workers.
Right. And I want you to tell the audience about the toolkit you give.
Well, I believe they have a very short span of attention.
Right. So what do you have in that toolkit? You've got to grab it,
the toolkit. It starts off with, there are 3 things that every guy says on every job interview that they must say. Number 1, I'm a hard worker. Number 2, I'm always on time. And number 3,
That's what you tell them to say.
And I never get sick. That's my favorite one.
Anybody can say, I'm a hard worker.
I'm always on time.
I'm always on time.
And I never get sick.
I never get sick. Sounds good to me.
Well, what it basically means is you don't take sick days.
Right.
But they don't understand.
And you don't miss your bus.
When I got my first job with Pfizer, I was coming out of graduate school. I was working for Coty. I swear to God, I came in, I didn't know what I was doing. I got up at 7 in the morning. I was in the office at 7 o'clock, and I stayed at 7 o'clock at night. Right. Nobody outworked me. Every time anybody came out of the office, I was there. In 6 months, I was promoted to marketing. And the next thing you know, and I did it, sure, I was probably doing the right thing, but just entry-level positions, being there on time. Well, I'm going to talk about my template in a second about being there, but that's half the battle, and they don't appreciate that. Sure. So the very first day, they get an electric alarm clock.
They get an alarm clock.
Electrical alarm clock.
Electrical alarm clock.
Right?
Right.
They get a resume.
They get a resume.
And by the time I get finished with them, because they don't know the tricks of a resume. Example, would you put an off-the-books job on a resume?
Probably not.
You should.
I should.
Of course, because let's say you worked off the books for me, and somebody called me a reference, and they said, did she work for you? Of course she worked for me. She worked for me for 3 years. Would you rehire? Yes. Am I going to say off the books? Could be the IRS on the phone.
Exactly.
So you put off, but just little tricks like, but that's important.
And would you rehire is a very good question.
Pardon?
And would you rehire the person
Exactly.
is a very good question.
All right. So they leave with a resume.
Right.
And,
Okay.
and now, they don't understand.
A clock and a resume.
Right, well, okay. Number 3, Metro cards.
Metro cards,
It's my
that's a
business
terrific
expense.
idea.
I spend $48,000 a year on Metro cards.
Right.
It's very expensive.
I can
But they have to earn it. They earn everything that they do. In other words, if you're going to school, you get a certain type of Metro card. If you go to school and work, we give you an unlimited Metro card.
Right.
All right? Okay.
So
next thing, more condoms than they can possibly use.
I have to say.
And we run
say.
serious seminars
Right.
on HIV, AIDS. We do private testing. Their health is awful. Their biological clocks are totally screwed up in their health.
I mean, I think that is such a good idea. This whole kit, this whole toolkit was that's what caught my attention.
And a briefcase, and pencils, and pads.
And you teach them how to dress.
Number 1, you get one bad hair day. I see the do-rag once. If I see the do-rag twice, you're out. You're suspended. You can't use a do-rag.
Right.
The music that they play, I think hip-hop music has a place. In fact, Russell Simmons and Rob One came out and talked to my guys. So hip-hop has a place, but not the violent stuff. Get it off your answering machine. If I call you, I don't want to hear that music.
Right.
You can put it on at 5 o'clock, but if you get called for an interview, all right, we have a clothes bank. How do you dress? Not with the baggy pants hanging off your hips. So it's how do you look, how do you talk? And then we interview them, we videotape just like this.
And you role model.
We role model, they have to get through me before they go out for an interview.
Mark, we don't have a lot of time left, and we're going to have a follow-up with you. But still, there's still something that's nagging at me. You're a very charming, compelling guy, but yet you get these kids to listen to you. Is it because they're just so hungry for somebody to guide them?
It's more, they've never had anybody in their life who cares about them and who's there for them.
And that care comes through.
The care comes through. They know the difference. They can tell the difference. I get calls, I work Saturday mornings, every Saturday, because a lot of guys work and they can't come during the week. The phone will ring on a Saturday morning. Hey, Mr. G, how are you? I'm fine. How are you? Why are they calling? To see if I'm there. Because they expect I will disappear, like everything else in their life. Just one quick thing. I was on CNN back in the fall, and then after the Journal article, I got over 250 emails. And people want to know, how do you start again staying out? So on my website, there's something called a template. And on the template, I take people through the process of how do you start getting out and staying out. The single most important thing at the bottom of every column is keep showing up.
Keep showing up. Keep your promise.
Which is what you're teaching them to do. Keep showing up on time. And if you're going to be late, you know how many grandmothers I have dying a year? My grandmother, they got more grandmothers than
right.
But
keep time and stress being a hard work. And you're true, and you're right. So much of the job is just being there and being visible.
On an entry level?
Absolutely.
What more does a guy want? That's it.
I have to say, I appreciate so much of coming on, and more importantly, I must say I have a great deal of admiration for you, because you do something that many of us wish we could maybe do sometime.
You better watch it. I might call on you.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know. You don't scare me. I've been to prison on your side, not the other side. Well, anyway, thank you so much for being on the show.
My pleasure.
You're watching Getting Your Money's Worth. I'm Judith West. We've just had our guest, Mark Goldsmith, of Getting Out and Staying Out. Thank you for watching.